Well, hello everyone, and welcome into JW World News Sunday edition. Well, my name is Rick Farron. I'm up here in the hub of the universe, and that's a real thing. Press it in on go into Google, put in the hub of the universe, and what comes up? Boston. I'm not really quite sure how it ever got that name. We've got a number of names for Boston now. Some people call it Beantown. Other people call it the apostate capital of the world, but it's also known as the hub of the universe. Well, I'm so glad we have a lot of people coming in here today, and thank you for coming in. Boy, I'll tell you what a week it was, but here we are, and we're continuing on. The six screens has been doing this now for 20 years, exposing the Watchtower. But we're not giving up now. We're going to keep moving forward. But there's so many things going on. We're not going to talk a whole lot about the convention. We've been doing that on every show, so you're probably getting a little tired of it. But we all had a good time, and we're glad that everyone, to my knowledge, has returned home safely. So I'm glad that all happened. But in the meantime, the ex Jehovah's Witness convention wasn't the only thing in the news. There was a lot that we kind of missed. I just want to cover something I think is a pretty major event that has taken place, and I wanted to share that with you. Let me just get my news articles up. Yeah, I wanted to share something with you that's been pretty much spread across the internet. It's been on all the forums, a bunch of YouTube videos being made about it. This week on August 5th in the United Kingdom, there's been a groundbreaking study exposing the hidden struggles of ex Jehovah's Witnesses in the United Kingdom. Now, this article was sent to me, and I want to thank all of the people. I got it numerous times, and I want to thank the people that sent it to me because it's quite startling, to be quite frank. And the reason why I say that, we've been talking on our Six Screens news broadcasts of all the countries that are coming down on Jehovah's Witnesses. Now, for years, the countries were paying no attention to the Jehovah's Witness movement. I mean, the Jehovah's Witnesses, first of all, are just a pimple on a rhino's back when it comes to a religious organization. They're really not that big, but I mean, to us, they were, right? They claim to have 9 million people. So they've kind of got away with a lot. They kind of went under the radar screen of many news agencies. They just never figured it was worth picking up. Even our little convention that we have. I actually wrote to the Boston Globe, the New York Times. I believe I wrote to them, local newspapers here. No, nobody really wanted to get involved with it. And when sometimes we did get our local newspaper here to cover it. Yes, we did. So that was good. Thank you, Susan. It's called the Tewksbury Patch. It's just a local yokel, but yet people read it. I read it. But to get the big guys, to get the big news agencies, and even the government to take a look at what's going on in the Watchtower, it's a real difficult task. It's just too small. It's not too many newsworthy. But to us, it is, right? But anyways, the point I'm trying to make with all of this is we had that convention, and we were very happy with the turnout, as I said. But now we also see that not only us ex Jehovah's Witnesses are exposing the Watchtower. We have so many activists out there now on YouTube, writing on forums like Facebook groups and Reddit. We have so many people that are exposing it, but now we have countries, and I've been saying this right along now for the last couple of years. I mean, I'm just thinking of some countries off the top of my head. There's 12 of them. There's Norway, there's Belgium, there's Slovakia, there's France, there's in the United Kingdom, they're under inquiry. We know Australia. We know what Russia thinks of the witnesses. So countries are starting to really take a close look. And now this came out, this groundbreaking study exposing the hidden struggles of ex Jehovah's Witnesses. A lot of them are struggling, and we saw that at the convention. In fact, even as Susan was saying earlier, I believe it was Joe Garino that made the statement that when you leave the Watchtower, That's the hardest thing that you'll ever do in your life. And, I got thinking of that. At first, it just kind of, okay, it's a statement. But when you think about it, it really is. I mean, look at what you had to go through to leave this crazy organization and what they do to you. So, anyways, this study was done on Jehovah's Witnesses, and it was studied in the international paper or magazine or article, websites, all pretty much all over Europe, all over the United Kingdom at least. And it has to do with psychology shedding light on the profound and long lasting challenges that ex Jehovah's Witnesses face when they leave a high control group like the Watchtower. When you leave the Watchtower, it's only up till now that you were able to connect with other people that shared similar experiences. Prior to the last few years, a lot of people got disfellowship, got shunned. They didn't realize there was other ex-witnesses out there. But this particular study, it shows how people are when they lose their faith and become faithless. According to this study, that's what really goes on with a lot of witnesses. And I really found this of interest because I say it right here on a Six Screen Sunday. Only about 20% of Jehovah's Witnesses who leave the organization continue to want to believe in God. And it's a Christian organization. This always baffles me. So this study, thank you study in UK, is suggesting the same thing. They at one time had faith, but then they leave and they become faithless. And that is one of the issues, because when a person becomes faithless, there's no hope. They're rudderless, as Susan says here. They're in a sea of spiritual uncertainty. So this article kind of really echoes my way of thinking. But also the article went into not only are they faithless, but the article describes significant emotional, social struggles after leaving the Watchtower. And often these struggles are compounded by shunning, loss of identity, and lack of understanding from professionals. I like this a lot. I got this in yellow underlined. A lot of these witnesses that have left, they have a lack of understanding from professionals. Well, what does that mean, Rick? Well, I'm going to tell you what that means. Susan always uses a phrase of some of these so-called therapists that they're gonna help you get all of this religious ideology and religious trauma out of you so you can be a normal person. Well, right in this article, they're showing there's a lack of understanding about the cults, and particularly here, Jehovah's Witnesses, from these so-called professional therapists. You go into them, oh, they'll take your money. Geez, I've talked to people here on the Six Screens that been to therapists that charge them $400 or $500, and they keep going back and they're getting nothing. They don't understand the witness arrangement. They have
Call them a rent-a-friend.
Susan calls them a rent-a-friend. So the study found, let me just read you some of this study because I had to bring this up today. I was going to bring it up last night on the news, but we got so involved with the convention, I didn't have time. So let me just talk about what happens. According to this study, this is not Rick Farron from the Six Screens talking. This is a sophisticated study that's been taking place over the last months, probably the last year in the UK, in interviewing many ex-Jehovah's Witnesses. Now, what the study shows that many of these ex-Jehovah's Witnesses experience acute mental health issues. Maybe you do. I've had people come on, they weren't embarrassed to say it. They come on, they say, Rick, I'm filled with anxiety. I'm having panic attacks. I'm depressed. And how many people have you heard on these programs talk about PTSD? We've all heard it. Yes, even at the convention, PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, came up a lot. A lot of people, they use the word triggered, and rightfully so. There's some things that really trigger people. That's what PTSD does. It brings you back to the moment you were really in rough shape, and it brings you right back there again. So the article is saying that, yes, many ex-Jehovah's Witnesses suffer from that. And then how about the article speaks about social isolation is common. Do you understand what isolation is? Friends, they use it in prison systems. As a matter of fact, in some of the maximum security prisons right here in the United States, isolation is a real form of harsh punishment. They isolate. Now imagine they take you and they just put you in a cell somewhere. You can't talk to anybody. They throw your food at you. You can't have any conversation. You can't have any connection with another human. You're isolated. That is severe punishment. That's what the Watchtower does. They isolate you with the loss of family, the loss of friends, and many just have been so hurt by that. There's many listen to this program today. So, and then the article, as it says once again, I got this underlined: professional help is often ineffective due to the lack of awareness about religious trauma. So you're going to a rent-a-friend, you're going to a therapist, you're asking them, "Can you please help me? I need help here. I have this religious trauma. I was involved in a cult that said they were Christian." I mean, how does a person that never was one of Jehovah's Witnesses, how are they going to help you? Now, I know you listening to this program, if someone came to you and you're an ex-witness, you could help them. You could offer more therapy to that person than a $500 therapist that knows nothing about Jehovah's Witnesses. So there it is. So is recovery possible? This is what the article's saying. It's not me saying it. Is recovery possible? Well, the article says yes, but it requires specialist understanding and a supportive relationship. You go to one of these therapists, is it really, do they really have specialist understanding? They don't know two hoots of beans. Now, I'm not saying all. I'm not trying to make a blanket statement here, so don't think I'm doing that, because I'm sure there's some therapists that do help. So I can't make a blanket statement, but I am saying that many of these people don't have specialist understanding. So what does that mean? Look, in life, we all want answers, don't we? We all want answers. Now, are we going to get them for a person that doesn't know what they're talking about? Would you do that? No, no, you wouldn't. So what they're saying is recovery is possible, but you have to basically get it from someone who's been trained in what goes on in the Jehovah's Witness world. It's a very complex, ongoing process of rebuilding your identity. So let's just go with that. Do you think you're just going to leave the Watchtower and, okay, I'm fine now. I'm great. I'm doing wonderful. No, it takes time. It's taken me time. I still have some residual feelings in my head, and all of you guys do as well, from being trapped in this organization. We really do. A lot of us, I'll tell you what I suffer from. I'll be frank with you. I don't think it's mental illness, but I seem to be very guilty about a lot of things. Boy, I better not do that, or I better not do this, or everything I do is boy, am I doing the right thing? That's residual feelings left over from the Watchtower. Now that doesn't mean that you can't have feelings of guilt. You just can't erase it all. There's some things we should feel guilty about, but there's a lot of things we shouldn't. And that's what the Watchtower did. It made us feel guilty about everything. So what you try to do when you're leaving, and the article, it kind of even ties in with some of these talks we had at the convention. I love the article. What you try to do is piece a lot of things together. And you have to do this in order to go on and live a fulfilling life. So this idea of becoming faithless when you leave your faith, the article is more or less suggesting it's not good. It's not. You have to have some faith. Now, I know even as I've been running the six screens here and working with this, and we do our program on Saturday, we do our program on Sunday. I noticed that there's many Jehovah's Witnesses, or I should say ex Jehovah's Witnesses, that when they leave the Watchtower, they are deeply entrenched in a spiritual sea of uncertainty. They can't seem to connect. They try to. Many turn to mysticism. Many turn to some of these new age religions. Many turn to yoga. Many turn to meditation. Many turn to the energy in the universe. Well, whatever they're trying to connect with. So, in a way, I'm not saying that's totally bad because you have to have faith in something. I particularly I have faith in God of the Bible, and I'm not trying to make everybody else believe that because I'm not an in-your-face Christian. I like to remain moderate, but you should connect with something, and connect with what the easiest thing is to understand. And we do have a book where people can read it and connect with it, and people can answer questions. So what I find when a person, and according to this article, once again, when people are leaving a high control religion. Now, we call it a cult. That's what we all call it, a cult. But a cult can be also identified, something that's synonymous with a cult is a high control religion. And then what is that? Well, what do you mean by a high control religion? Do you like being controlled? Seriously. I mean, you've been born onto this planet, and I've always said the Watchtower controls us from the cradle to the grave. But do you like being controlled? Well, if you're in the Watchtower, you are, whether you like it or not. And if you don't like it, they don't like it, and you're removed, and you'll end up in this difficult situation. So I just wanted to bring this up today and let you all know that countries are now writing articles. Countries are now interrogating Jehovah's Witness organization, the Watchtower. I think of Norway. I think of them saying, hey, look it, you better play by the rules, Watchtower. We're not going to really like you. We're not going to let you even be a known religion in this country. Did you that? The Jehovah's Witnesses right now are not a registered religion in the country of Norway. And they're not a registered religion because they're not playing by the rules. Norway gives the Jehovah's Witness money. The more members a religion has in Norway, they get money for that. It's called charitable. That's what it is. It's a charity. The country gives the Watchtower money. And then what the Watchtower is supposed to do, and other religions are supposed to do, is hand that money over. Not all of it. They have to keep some for expenses, but to hand that money over to the poor, stricken people. The Watchtower doesn't do it. And goodness only knows, I know a lot of other religions that don't do it either. They keep the money. But the point I'm trying to make with that, Norway said, no way are you going to be a religion doing that. You're shunning people. You're not doing things that are Christian. You're not doing things that are charitable. We're taking money away from you. So Norway, the witnesses in Norway, Watchtower is losing approximately $1.5 million a year. And they are ticked off. They keep trying to appeal it, but that's it. Norway's had enough of the witnesses. And then other countries too, Belgium, Japan. These countries now are looking deeply into the Watchtower. Same thing. You guys, they see that this isn't a religion. This is a high control group. So kudos to those countries. And you guys just keep moving forward, exposing the Watchtower. I want to bring that up. I want to bring that up today on our news broadcast here on Sunday. Let me get back in here. Yeah, well, what's happening, friends, right now is we are all in a very good position. And I want you really to think about that. If you were a Jehovah's Witness who came out 20 years ago, it really was a difficult task. Now they say the internet kind of came into existence around 1992. that they say Al Gore, at least he brags about it. I don't know if Al Gore is the inventor of the internet or not, but whoever invented it, I say kudos to them because it's an amazing thing to have, the internet. But here's the thought I want to make with this. If you were one of Jehovah's Witnesses and you came out, say, in 1991, prior to the internet, and I remember doing some of this, what you had to do, if you were trying to connect with other people who left the Watchtower, there really wasn't any way to do it. In fact, there was one man that I knew, Mark Paulo. He was a friend of mine, and back then he was this fellowship back in the late 90s, and there was no internet. And I remember when I first connected with Mark. He lives up in the Lowell, Mass area. He's dead. He's dead now, but I remember talking to him then, and he said, "Rick, I thought that I was the only apostate in the world. Imagine that. Now we don't imagine that." I remember even I met my beautiful wife Susan here. She called into the program. She said, "Rick, there's nobody out here in Chicago. There's no apostates in the middle of the country." And so she was reaching out and see we connected. So other than that, things could have got difficult for her in life and difficult for a lot of people. But we're able to connect now. What a grand blessing that is. But can you imagine how it must have felt being the only apostate? Boy, this could be suicidal. This could be, I can't live like this. I'm the only bad person. But now we find out because of the internet, it is the great equalizer. The internet has opened up a whole new door for ex Jehovah's Witnesses, and it's putting us all together. And we've been working so hard for many years, all of you guys out there, the YouTube creators, the people making posts on Facebook, the people in Reddit, all of the people that are activists, and they're doing everything they can to expose witnesses. Don't think it was all in vain. We are getting points on the scoreboard right now, big time, and the Watchtower knows it. They know that the apostates are winning some battles. We haven't won the war, but we have been winning some battles. And also, besides that, we now have these governments I've just been talking about. Governments. Friends, these aren't, little local town governments like where I live here in Massachusetts, Tewksbury. We're talking about major countries. Russia, Belgium, Norway, France, Slovakia. The list goes on. I don't have any in front of me. I should have them, but there's 12 of them. I actually counted 12 of them where the Watchtower is being thoroughly investigated right now. So this should make us all feel good. We not only are all of us activists exposing the Watchtower, we now have governments. We have major newspapers. We have movies. We have documentaries. All of this. How much longer can the Watchtower continue? Will they continue? I say they're on life support. And a lot of people, if they've said in the past, they're not saying it much lately. But when I first started Six Screens 20 years ago, I said they're going to be doomed. Now, it took a little while longer, but I'm going to tell you, they are on life support right now. And it's only a matter of time. Something's going to change. And then I wanted to bring up another thing, too. There's been reports coming in here to JW World News. It's like a news clearinghouse for the ex-witness world. And some news articles that were presented to me this week. Now, I'm going to tell you, I don't know whether these are true or not, but please just connect with what I'm saying here. I had some information sent to me this week that really got my attention and got me thinking. Now, don't take it to the bank and cash it, but from what the information that was given to me is saying is the Watchtower no longer is going to take in-person donations. Now you say, well, wait, hold on, Rick. What do you mean by that? Well, all the money, I don't know if someone's running off with the money or whether they're just trying to find a better way to collect. But according to the leak or the information that has come in here to the Six Screens, and I'm just going to call it a leak. And see, we have to be like the CIA. You know what the CIA does? They operate on so-called intelligence. But at times, that intelligence is not right. It's like a military battle. You might be getting the wrong information. donation. So I'm just going to first of all tell you it's a leak. But see what you have to do, like even in the CIA, you have to look at stuff, examine it, and see if it may be true. Now, to give you an idea, this idea of the Watchtower going to do away with personal donations. In other words, you're not going to go to the Kingdom Hall and drop money in a box. You're not going to go to a convention and drop money in a box. From what I understand here, and this person that gave me information, it seems to know a treasurer. It seems to be coming from the Treasury Department of the Watchtower. So there's a reason for it. And there's many things that pop up in my mind. So this is supposed to all be implemented this fall. As a matter of fact, it's going to be implemented somewhere around October, November. So all donations to the Watchtower are going to be online, and there will not be any brothers to collect anymore in person. So it seems like a major position the Watchtower's taken on this. But I'm trying to what I try to do with the six screens. I don't try to make things up, but I try to put legs. I try to take little legs and put them on some of these stories, and then try to think why would the Watchtower do this? Well, why would they stop donations? It seems like, hey, let the money flow in. Well, why are they stopping? There's a few things that I thought about, but it's only conjecture on my part. But I thought about, well, someone is, maybe they think someone's taking the money. Friends, that's happened before. There's been plenty of times, plenty of people in the last 20 years have called this program and said they knew of a brother that was stealing money from the contributions. So with the way the economy is, with the housing cost, the prices of rent, the prices of food, the prices of cars, I'm not going to rule that out. There could be a lot of money being stolen from the local Kingdom Halls. And especially now you get so many PMOs. I'm believing there's 4 million. So you got all these PMOs that don't give any feeling at all about the Watchtower. They just as soon take the money. So is the Watchtower a little nervous? Are they thinking, wait a minute, we have a lot of disloyal ones here. Maybe they're stealing the money. Now, that's just one thought. I'm not telling you that's true.
What about the literature and stuff like that? Could they steal money from the literature counter too? Is that why they're doing that?
Well,
how are they going to buy Bibles and stuff?
Well, Susan is wondering how you're going to buy Bibles. You know, you go up to the literature counter, and usually you gave them cash. But Susan, everything today is done electronically. Everything today is done with your credit card, your debit card, your Cash App, or your PayPal, or something like that. You know, this internet money. So that's what we're going to, and so that's just one thought I have, is that maybe they're concerned about people stealing the donations. What do you think? Is there anybody out there that has a thought? If you do, go ahead, hit star 6. I'd like to know what your thoughts are. Yeah, there's one thought, but there's other thoughts too that run through my mind. I'd like to know what your thoughts are. Well,
Rick?
Yes.
Hi, thank you. Is it all right if I comment on 2 points that you brought out? Is recovery possible, and the way the Watchtower isolates those who fall out of favor?
Sure.
Thank you. I personally never went through any kind of therapy regarding Watchtower or other things I've been through. I just wanted to know what was wrong with me, see it clearly, and to learn life skills. And just from my experience, we can learn life skills to help ourselves to rebuild our self-esteem and our sense of self, and to reclaim our identity from, going through a normal person from a brainless dependent thinking program grown, which is a very difficult process. Regarding the isolating that Watchtower so cruelly practice, the act of shunning, the act of putting us outside of all fellowship, like you said, in prisons, they're just like prisons who put prisoners in isolation, making you feel completely alone. And what you said reminded me of this poor 12-year-old Jehovah's Witness boy. I think he got baptized when he was 9. And when he was 12, he was disfellowshipped and shunned, completely shunned, isolated in his own home by his own family. Thank you, Rick.
Yeah, it's a sad state of affairs, but that's happening. There's some people listening to this program right now that perhaps are in a bedroom, in a room by themselves, maybe down cellar, no friends. Their relatives aren't speaking to them. Their friends aren't speaking to them. They feel isolated. And I said that, I'd say about 10, 15 years ago, I brought that statement up. I said, someone was on a Saturday night, I can still remember. And I said, somebody out there right now is in tears. Nobody's speaking to them. They're all alone. They're destitute. And, the next week, a woman called up. She says, Rick, that person that you were talking about last week was me. So I know right now there are people that have been hurt terribly because of the policies of the Watchtower organization. So it's just something that is true, friends. People would say, Rick, are you somehow trying to make this organization seem worse than it is? Why would I do that? I often refer to the Watchtower as being like the mafia. And no disrespect to the mafia here, but I think sometimes they're worse than the mafia. I mean that with the cruel punishment. But no, I'm not sitting here bloviating. I'm here. I'm not here to hurt you.
You're not
I'm,
earning any money.
I'm in it. Susan says I'm not earning any money doing it. I'm not here to hurt you. We're here to help you. Dick, what do you have to say?
Yeah, Rick, thank you. A couple of things. When I was a JW and a ministerial servant, myself and another brother used to count the money, and one of us would take it to the bank. We could have very easily said, I'll take 20 and you take 20, and nobody would know. So embezzlement is probably something that's happening in the Watchtower. And the other thing I thought I'd mention is when you mentioned the hub was referring to the railroads, back in the turn of the 19th century, the Boston and Maine and Springfield Terminal Railroads, they all met in Boston, so that's why they call it the hub. And Mark Kalo was mocked. I don't think he was ever disfellowshipped. I think they were afraid to do that because he knew too much about what happened, which was happening at Bethel and him being raped and so forth. But they did mock him, that's for sure. But I think they were afraid that if they disfellowshipped him, that he would just go ballistic and start pointing a lot of fingers. Thank you, Rick.
Well, yeah, Dick, I appreciate you bringing that up. I do remember now. Yep, that he was never disfellowshipped. It's the same thing with his son. The same thing with his son, who has worked with me. Luke, he was never disfellowshipped either. But this idea of no money boxes or contribution boxes, donation boxes, whatever you want to call them, it makes sense that with all of the disloyalty, and then the governing body knows it. They know for a fact that there are disloyal Jehovah's Witnesses. Now, we call them PMOs. That would refer to as an acronym, physically in, mentally out. So we call them that, but the Watchtower doesn't. They just call them disloyal. Now, the reason I come to understand this is based on the fact that, I read the Watchtower publications. I try to do it for the news. And I can't tell you in the last 6 months, every 2 weeks at least, when they study the Watchtower Study Edition, there's an article in there about disloyal ones in the congregation. The Watchtower knows it. In fact, even I don't have it verbatim here, the saying, but I'll try to just paraphrase it somehow. But in one of the latest Watchtowers I was reading, it says, don't really think that everybody is loyal to Jehovah. And there's some that are expressing their feelings privately to others. Now, what's that tell you? Well, what does that statement tell you? That tells you they're aware that people are talking. I don't ever remember reading. I was in the Watchtower for 50 years. I don't ever remember reading an article like disloyal ones, could be sitting next to you. And what they're saying is don't have much to do with them. If they say anything about the organization, just totally dismiss it. and even report them. Now they're making you a rat. They want you to go and report them to the elders. Hey, Sister Smith, oh, she's been saying things she shouldn't be saying. So this is the organization that Jehovah's Witnesses have become, paranoid. And then I think in terms of, what's another reason? Well, what's another way that we could put legs? How can we put legs on no more donations in person? And again, friends, yes, go ahead. Is this John?
It is.
Yeah, John.
If in fact they are embezzling, I'm delighted to hear that. I'm delighted that they're embezzling the money, because all they're doing is taking advantage of people, using the money to pay these lawsuits. So if in fact they're embezzling, I'm delighted to hear that. And they're now realizing that people are not going along with this nonsense. And all they've been doing all these years is using the word of God to take advantage of people. God has nothing to do with this organization, never did. These just human beings, men, taking advantage of other people. So if they are embezzling, I'm delighted to hear that.
Well, thank you, John, for commenting on that, because that is something that does make sense to me. And as a matter of fact, Susan, before you leave, I want you to read something. Okay, I'm just talking right there. Well, thank you, John, for, I'll tell you what, I kind of think of embezzlement too. I think of embezzlement too. And I also want to put some other legs on it. Another thing with all of these lawsuits, like you just mentioned, there's a lot of money coming out of the Watchtower coffers. So just think of this, folks. Just think of this might also be happening. Who is responsible for the money coming in, the donation boxes at the Kingdom Hall? Well, they have a servant there that does this. He counts the money. And I'm not saying that he's going to run off with the money. Maybe some do. But he's aware that, boy, the Watchtower took in $2,000 this month. Boy, now we're going to send that off. Boy, they're raking it in big time. Because I'm going to tell you something. Maybe they are getting a lot of money in, and they don't want anyone in the congregation talking about it, because the accountant's going to go home and say, honey, Sister Smith, oh my goodness, she just sold her house for $500,000, and she gave us $20,000. I mean, they might even be getting an abundance of, this is another angle. They might be even getting so much money in that they don't want the people to know it. They might be saying, hey, wait a minute. Because, look at the real estate prices, friends. People are making millions. People are making hundreds of thousands of dollars. And what do they do with that? Well, first of all, they can deduct it. They can, give the Watchtower, hey, listen, honey, we just got $500,000 for a house. Give the Watchtower $20,000. We can deduct it off the taxes. So that's another angle, right? Geez, maybe they don't want to see that check for $20,000 in the contribution box. Then nobody knows about it. The only one that knows about the electronic transfers would be the treasurer of the Watchtower and those working the Treasury Department. So that's another angle. There's more, but I think that angle could also be, so it could be that someone's embezzling money. It's a thought. Or it could be that we don't want people to see all this money coming in, because, friends, as poor as a lot of people are, and our heart goes out to them, my goodness, I don't know how people do it. But on the other hand, there's a lot of money floating out there. And friends, there's even younger witnesses. Now, the baby boomer witnesses are dying off. So they have little Cindy and Georgie. So what happens? The mother and father, baby boomer witness dies. So little Cindy and Georgie, they all of a sudden inherit $500,000. So, let's give the Watchtower some money. So this could be the case, that they could be getting a lot of money right now, and they don't want people to know about it. So that's another thought. But then I'm also thinking, whenever I think of digital money, and friends, contrary to a lot of people's thinking, we already have digital money. We already have that. Digital money is a credit card. Digital money is your debit card. Digital money is your Cash App or your PayPal. This is all done digitally. You never even see the cash. It just goes from your account to theirs. And so they're dropping a lot of money into the Watchtower coffers. And what they can do is they can hide that money. Now, do you think the Watchtower, being the Christian organization they are, do you possibly think that they would hide money? They absolutely would. If they can hide a pedophile, if they can hide a sex trafficker, if they can hide the fact that they had a person commit suicide, they'll do it. You think they're going to worry about hiding money from the government? So this is a great way to hide money. This is very, the IRS, the taxing authorities, they have a hard enough time keeping up on this. But if you have people dropping cash into a donation box and the accountant has to make a record of it, there's a record there. There's really no record. There's really no record. I mean, you can erase things, manipulate things, do all kinds of things. So there's a few reasons. What do you think, 575? You're on with us.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Well, first of all, I want to say, Rick, thank you. And I just want to say that you are doing so much to help so many people. After 50 years, I woke up 2 years ago, and then this spring, I found Jay Hess on Facebook. I heard him talk on the Trinity. And then since then, I've been listening to his archives. I'm on number 164, and I now know what I believe, and I will continue to learn. But prior to finding this, I didn't know what I believed, and so every time I pray a meaningful prayer, I thank God for Jay Hess, and I thank God for you, Rick. You're phenomenal, and your heart is huge, and I do believe that both of you are provisions from Yahweh to help people, and you're doing a wonderful job. So the other thing I want to say is I listened online to your whole program convention this past weekend, and I loved it. I think there was such a wide variety of helpful talks, very engaging, very informative. I feel like it was an apostate retreat. It was healing. It was very interesting, and I really liked that cult girl. I thought she had a lot of good information. Of course, I love Jay, but also that the one on the Illuminati, that was very interesting. Just really all the talks. I can't think of any one that I did not enjoy, and so I just want to say that. Thank you.
Well, you're very welcome. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I'm glad you like Jay Hess. I'm going to tell him that. He'll be really happy to hear that, sister. And what's your name?
Bernadette.
Bernadette. Well, thank you, Bernadette. Thank you for coming on. I really do appreciate that. I know that there's a lot of people listening to the program, and sometimes we don't hear from them. But I'm glad to hear from you, Bernadette. Thank you.
Thank you, Rick.
All righty.
Call back.
Yeah, call back again. Now, thank you. So anyways,
I will.
isn't that nice hearing from a lady like that? She's a very kind lady, Bernadette, huh? I've always liked that name, Bernadette. I knew one other Bernadette. Yes, not a lot, but that's a beautiful sounding name, Bernadette. Yes. So anyways, we've got, well, I wanted to, what I wanted to do here is, well, we won't play it right. Susan's got something she wants to bring up. And, I'll just go back into the convention for a short bit here before we wrap the show up and go to the Christian court. But what I found is it was such an appropriate year to have the convention for ex-Jehovah's Witnesses. 50 years since 1975. It's just so happened that we hit it, right? 50 years ago, the Watchtower was telling us that the world was going to end. Armageddon was going to come in 1975. And of course, many witnesses took it to the bank and ran with it. Many witnesses sold their houses. Many people moved to where the need was great. Many people gave up careers. They gave up going to school. Can you imagine? They gave up even having children, that their whole life was centered around their loyalty and their total commitment to the Watchtower organization. But their lives have been ruined. I know one man, he lived in a nice, beautiful house here in Burlington, Massachusetts. And it's a nice little community. And that man, I won't give his name, but he moved out to Iowa and he had a beautiful house and he sold it all in 1974 to move out to Iowa. Have you been out to Iowa? I'm not going to pick on the state of Iowa. It's a beautiful state, but it's very rural. Mostly cornfields out there. So we moved out there because the need was great. The Watchtower said that this is where we should witness. A lot of people haven't got the truth out in Iowa. So we moved to Iowa, sold his house. Now, back then, in 1975, 50 years ago, housing in Massachusetts was selling back then, I'd say for probably, well, let me put it this way to you, probably $60,000. He had a nice, from what I remember, nice split level house in Burlington. So he sold that. So he moved out to Iowa. And the last I heard, a few years back, he wanted to come back, but he couldn't afford it. Armageddon came, left him in the cornfields of Iowa, can't come back, no money to come back. If he was still in that house today, that house would be worth over $1 million. So do you see how the Watchtower has messed people's lives up? I'm sure he knows that. I'm sure he's checking prices here in New England. He can't afford to move back here. It's unbelievable. So there is how the Watchtower really messed her life up by saying, hey, 1975, Armageddon. Now, Susan, let me see that book, Susan. I won't lose the page. Okay, I will not lose this book right here. I'm going to hold it up. Jim Hill, our good friend Jim out in Seattle, Washington, he gives us these books. This is a Watchtower publication. It's called The Desolation of the Sanctuary. Now, you probably never heard of that. You probably never ever heard of that. But we give these books away. We have a game we play on Saturday night. But that's an actual Watchtower publication. So Susan read something to me the other day that really connected with me. It's just, is this something? I mean, was 1975 really the only year that they emphatically said the end was coming? Now, we know they incidentally have said, 1914 and those that the anointed are going to go to heaven. We know all that. But what she came across in this book is startling. In fact, Susan, why don't you read that to us?
Well, I'm paraphrasing it here. Can you hear?
Yeah.
Oh, the few pages that state this in this book, it's called The Desolation of the Sanctuary. These few pages state that 1914 and 1925 were not wrong dates that the society predicted, but that God had postponed the dates. So the society was not wrong, but the predictions were just delayed so that Jehovah's Witnesses could learn something, and they were still God's channel. Can you believe that they would even think that way? They're still God's channel. Jehovah's Witnesses were not wrong in their predictions. God had postponed the dates for his eternal reasons to teach the faithful slave something important. So 1914 and 1925 were not wrong.
Can you imagine that? I mean, what she read there, what really got me disturbed is the Watchtower was saying that God changed his mind. Here they are telling you 1914, 1925, that, something's going to happen. Something's going to happen. Something big in the Watchtower. But because, we weren't ushered into the new world, so to speak, that God, decided to postpone it. Can you imagine the position Watchtower is going to be in?
To teach the faithful slave a lesson.
Can you imagine that? What's going to happen to them when God someday looks at all of the religions of the world? He looks at all the people in the world. And can you imagine the feeling he's going to have to the Watchtower by saying that God delayed it? God doesn't delay things for man. God doesn't delay things for anybody. He's the ruler of the universe. He's the only one that is sitting in a position of controlling everything, not the Watchtower. Well, friends.
Could I add a little something?
Yeah, go ahead, Emery.
Oh, God, thank you so much. After the failure of the 1975 Armageddon prediction and it failed, and they had started making all kinds of excuses. And then I think in late 1976, they had a special nighttime assembly where Brother Freddie Franz got up and just basically chastised all of us and yelled at us for our lack of faith and what was our true motive of serving Jehovah. Was it out of love or just for the reward? And that was traumatizing. But worse, Watchtower came out with a talk that somebody posted on the internet way back around 2001, 2002, somewhere in there, on a forum, a GW forum, and it was all about the test. It was all a test. Did you pass the test? And it was all basically the whole thing, the whole prediction of 1975, according to the talk this brother gave that was posted on this XJW forum site, was that the entire thing was a test of our faithfulness and our true love, the motive of our love for Jehovah. Thank you so much, Rick.
Well, thank you, Anne-Marie. And friends, I want to thank all those people that came into JW World News Sunday edition today. Now we've got a program coming up next. Now don't head for the mountains. We call it the Christian Court. They're going to answer peculiar questions that Christians would have. Friends, I'm going to end it by playing this clip. Listen closely.
Annihilation of all the political systems of this world, and then the binding of Satan.
I'm going to stop right there. And for those listening on our radio network, they heard that. But the people, sad to say, the people that were listening in, we didn't put it up on our StreamYard. So I'll just play another minute of that. For those that already heard it, fine, just go with it. But I want those people that were on StreamYard, they didn't hear it, but they should hear it this time around. So just listen in closely.
But the big question is this. Is this year 1975 the final year, the last year before the great tribulation breaks and reaches its climax in the battle of the great day of God the Almighty at Armageddon?
Well, we don't have to guess. what the year 1975 means. If we read the Watchtower, because the Watchtower has been very explicit as to what the year 1975 means for us. When God will bring the battle of Armageddon and clean this whole earth off, and you'll be ushered right into a paradise earth forevermore, never again to be afflicted with this satanic old system of things. It will be gone down.
And at sundown on September the 5th, the lunar year 1975 ends. So you see, we haven't got much left to this year 1975. It's going to end at sundown.
Well, there you have it. That was, of course, Fred Franz, president of the Watchtower, and, of course, District Overseer Senutko. Well, there you have it. I mean, how can you deny that the Watchtower, well, they said it. Well, what else could you say? They can't deny the fact that they didn't. They did say it. Well, friends, stay with us. The Christian Court's coming up next. We appreciate your presence. We're going to end this right here. Thank you very much.